Let them join now. We are waiting for Vice Chancellor. Let him after he join, then we will.
உனக்கு அப்புறம் முதல்ல அன்னைக்கு செய்யல அது
ரூபாய் செஞ்சதுக்கு 2500 ரூபாய் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. 2000 ரூபாய் ஒரு வெட்டியா விதை வாங்க முடியாது. 4000 எங்க அம்மா பால் காசு வச்சு போய் 1/2 கிலோ வாங்கிடலாம். வாங்கி நோட்டை பார்த்துட்டு 2500 கேவலம் என்ன ஆமா 2000 வாங்கி காசு இருக்கலாம் பாய்.
அவர் வந்து பண்ணதான்
நீ வாங்கிட்டு வீட்டுக்குள்ள தூங்கவா முடியும்.
2000
அவன் நீ வைக்கிறானே தெரியாத முடிக்க வேண்டியதானே அது பேரு பார்த்தனா
நாளைக்கு பொட்டேட்டி போனா அங்க அன்னைக்கு
நம்பரே அதான் இந்த பொம்பளை புடி போகாம இருக்குடி
போதுனே
அங்க வர இருக்குல்ல
10வது எடுத்து வச்சிருக்கோம். சரியா கரெக்டா கன்சாக்ல போட்டுறணும். அது பெரிய பேர் கொடுத்துருக்கு.
காசு வாங்கிட்டு காசு கொடுத்து உடனே சாக்கு தைக்காம வாங்கிட்டாரு.
இல்ல இது மொத்த ஸ்டாக் தைக்காம 50 ஸ்டாக் வாங்கிருக்கோமே. 50 ஸ்டாக் வாங்கிருக்கான். அண்ணா 50 ஸ்டாக் காலி விட்டுங்க.
ஒரு ஸ்டாக் சாப்பாடு
கட்டி விடுறாங்க.
ஒரு ஸ்டாக் தாப்பா.
காய் அள்ளி குடு.
ஏய் ஒரு ஸ்டாக் தானப்பா.
ரெண்டு ஸ்டாக்டா.
எங்க ஸ்டாக் ஒண்ணு அர்த்தம்ப்பா. $12 வாங்கினாங்க. 30ன்ட்டாங்க. அப்ப கொஞ்சம் கறி விலை கூட.
12,000 நம்மளே ஒரு ஆட்டோ.
காலுவனு அத உருக்கி இருக்கு 2 நாள் அது பாத்து
விசிக்காக தான் வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம் சார்.
சார்
விசிக்கு
ஆ.
if he comes immediately we will start the program.
ஷூர். டாக்டர் மல்லம்மாள் வந்துட்டாங்களா சார்?
வந்துட்டாங்க.
ஓகே
சாரும் வந்துட்டாங்க.
ஓகே சார், அவ்வளோதான் சார்.
வந்துட்டாரான்னு கொஞ்சம் பாரு. யார் வந்தாலும் ஆரம்பிச்சு.
சார் மணி சார்
எஸ் மேடம்.
என்னாச்சு சார்?
ஒன்றும் இல்லை சார், விசி வர்றதுக்காக வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கிறேன் மேடம். அவர் இப்போ லைப்ரரிக்காக போயிட்டு இப்போ தான் வந்துட்டு இருக்கிறாரு விசி ஆஃபீஸுக்கு. தட் இஸ் த டிலே, வேற ஒன்றும் இல்லை. வந்த உடனே சொல்லு. வந்துட்டாரா சார்? குட் மார்னிங் சார்.
குட் மார்னிங் சார். வணக்கம்
சார். ஆரம்பிச்சிடலாமா சார்?
ஓகே சார்.
So let us start the webinar with prayer song.
शांति शक्ति करुणाय पराशक्ति என் தாய் உந்தனை நித்தமும் தொழுதனம் சக்தி என கருள்வாய் பக்தியோடுந்தனை பணிந்திடல் மறந்தேன் பக்தியோடுந்தனை பணிந்திடல் மறந்தேன் பாரினில் சுகமெல்லாம் நீ என தெரிந்தேன் பாரினில் சுகமெல்லாம் நீ என தெரிந்தேன் சக்தி என கருள்வாய் பராசக்தி என் தாய் உந்தனை நித்தமும் தொழுதனம் சக்தி என கருள்வாய் கல்லிலும் கட்டுடைய தேகம் என கருள்வாய் கல்லிலும் கட்டுடைய தேகம் என கருள்வாய் காலனை ஜெயித்திடும் கருணையும் தருவாய் காலனை ஜெயித்திடும் கருணையும் தருவாய் சொல்லிலும் செயலிலும் தூய்மையை தருவாய் சொல்லிலும் செயலிலும் தூய்மையை தருவாய் சோம்பலை ஓட்டினர் சுகமென கருள்வாய் சோம்பலை ஓட்டினர் சுகமென கருள்வாய் சக்தி என கருள்வாய் பராசக்தி என் தாய் உந்தனை நித்தமும் தொழுதனம் சக்தி என கருள்வாய். சாந்தி சாந்தி சாந்தி.
Good morning to you all. Today, the Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science, the GANDHIGRAM Rural Institute, deemed to be University GANDHIGRAM, is organizing a webinar on the contributions and relevance of Mahatma Gandhi Vinoba Bhave and Desikottama G.Ramachandran, the founder of GANDHIGRAM Rural University. The global community is celebrating the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. In this occasion, I am extremely happy to welcome our most respected Dr. T.T. Ranganathan, Vice Chancellor in charge, the GANDHIGRAM Rural Institute, deemed to be University, GANDHIGRAM, and has consented to deliver the inaugural address. He has more than 35 years of teaching, research, and extension experiences in the field of agriculture extension. He has done more number of major projects for Government of India and the University Grants Commission. Sar has published more than 10 books and produced many PhDs. He was also a student of GANDHIGRAM and became a professor now. He raised up to Vice Chancellor in charge this great institute. On behalf of the Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science and SHANTI SENA, we welcome you, sir. I'm also very happy to propose a warm welcome to our senior professor, Dr. M. William Bhaskaran, professor in the Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science and Dean School of Social Sciences, for his effort to bring this relevant topic of the today's deliberations. He is serving this institute more than 35 years of service as teaching experience, research, and in the field of Shanti SENA, conflict management, Gandhian thought. So in this context, once again, I welcome you, sir. And sir is going to deliver the presidential address of this webinar. Once again, I welcome you, sir. It is a great pleasure in welcoming one of the most distinguished, senior most Gandhian leader and Gandhian scholar, Dr. N. Radhakrishnan. He has been playing in the global spread of nonviolence by interpreting Gandhian nonviolence and peace. He is serving as a teacher, trainer of youth, journalist, theater worker, and writer. Besides being an actor himself, have been inspiring. Professor has played a key role under the leadership of our founder units. He retired from GANDHIGRAM. He was served as the director, Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti in New Delhi under he was the first man recipient of the prestigious honorary ambassadorship in recognition of his contribution to education, peace, and culture on August 9th, 2001. Another award on Gandhi's King Ikeda Peace Prize on the occasion of 50th martyrdom anniversary of Martin Luther King in April 2018. So later, the government of India nominated him to the National Committee under the chairmanship of the President of India to celebrate the 150th birth anniversary of Gandhi. That he has also nominated to the 19-member executive committee to implement the program under the Prime Minister of India is also a very significant development. With this brief introduction, I am very happy to welcome most distinguished senior professor Dr. N. Radhakrishnan, Chairman Kerala Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, Thiruvananthapuram. So who is going to deliver the keynote address. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of the Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science and the Shanti SENA of GRI. Welcome you, sir, once again. I also welcome the resource person and keynote address he is going to give, the senior most professor, Dr. K. Vasudevan Pillai. He is a professor retired and he's the principal NSS College, Nemmara, and Gandhi Mangalam, Palakkad. He is within us today to deliver the keynote address on Acharya Vinoba Bhave, the national teacher, and Satyagrahi, a revisit to his multiple qualities. In that topic, he is a passionate and responsible academician with 35 years of experience in teaching in the field of higher education, an active researcher and environmentalist with a deep interest in mass education activities. He is serving as principal, coaching center for minority youth, Palakkad, then chairman, board of studies, BSc Instrumentation, University of Calicut, Malappuram, PhD in Environmental Science, Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam. He published several research papers, area of specialization in watershed, water management and conservation activities. So on behalf of the Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science and SHANTI SENA of GRI, DU GANDHIGRAM, we welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And on behalf of the department, we also welcome Dr. our own colleague, Dr. T. Ravichandran, Assistant Professor and Director of Museum of Constructive Program of Mahatma Gandhi. He is going to deliver the proposed vote of thanks in the webinar. He is more than 10 years of experience, teaching experience, and more experiences on Gandhian to propagate Gandhian ideologies and in students, community, and officials on several departments. He has given training to a lot of people, even at the public. So he has a great expertise in the field of yoga and meditation and the Gandhian thought. Also, he is specialized in communal harmony. So that was his PhD. So in this juncture, I also welcome Dr. T. Ravichandran, is our colleague. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Also, I welcome our own colleague, Senior Professor Dr. Mallamal Madam. She is in the Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science. She is also having more than 28 years of teaching and research experience in this department. He served a lot of things on Gandhian. He's also propagated Gandhian ideologies and the research in the field of research or in the also extension activities. She contributed many things. So I welcome you, madam, and also I welcome the senior professor, Dr. Velmani madam from Sociology Department, Spirituality Department, in her presence, and she also brought more number of students in this webinar. I welcome you, madam, and the most of the professors from different departments, deans, heads, and coordinators of our university, and teaching, non-teaching staff members of our university. Most on behalf of our Gandhian Thought Department and the SHANTI SENA, wholeheartedly welcome you all, one and all, again for this great webinar on contributions and relevance of Mahatma Gandhi, Vinoba Bhave, and Desikottama G.Ramachandran. In this brief welcome address, I request our Vice Chancellor in charge, Dr. T. Ranganathan sir, to deliver the inaugural address.
Good morning to all. Respected our guest speaker, Dr. N. Radhakrishnan, is Chairman Kerala's Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, Thiruvananthapuram. Respected Dr. K. Vasudevan Pillai, retired professor from Gandhi Smarak Grama Seva Kendram, Mangalam, Palakkad. our Professor Dr. William Bhaskaran, Gandhi Thought and Peace Science, Dr. Mani, Dr. T. Ramachandran, and Dr. Mallamal, and all the participants of this webinar. I am giving my welcome for all the participants for this webinar. First of all, I apologize for late coming due to some held up in Mama's function in Gandhigram. Now, I can make there is a small brief note on there is Gandhi, because being a lot stalwarts are there to discuss about Gandhi Vinoba Bhave, and as well as Mama. I will make a small note on it, and I will give way for our speakers. We all know Gandhi he has a great personality. He is always talking about our Swaraj, sustainability, simplicity, unity, tolerance, non-violence, unity among all communities, religions, etc. Apart from that, he led our freedom movement, and almost more than 35 crores of people he gathered together for our freedom. So he is a great personality. He has been inspired by many people, of which Acharya Vinoba Bhave, as well as our founder of our university, Dr. Ramachandran. They are one of the very simple persons. They are to be discussed here. Vinoba Bhave, he also took part in many of the political programs designed by Gandhi, and even went to participating in many of the programs. Further, he believed in Gandhi's social beliefs like equality among Indians and various religions. He taught all the people about the simplicity, because he wear only a single cloth, and also he is taking very simple food. So he became a model for many people to follow it. Likewise, Dr. G. Ramachandran, he is also one of the Gandhi's disciple. He in his about 17 years of age, he went to he has studied under the Dr. Rabindranath Tagore in Shanti. So he got very good there is a experience of freedom movement with Rabindranath Tagore. So after that, he went to he joined in Sevagram and became a disciple of Gandhi, and he started he has joined in the so many freedom movements. Further, he also even in the freedom struggle, he has quoted arrest for 11 times, and also he spent about more than 7 years in jail. So and also he is a very good orator and as well as lecturer. That's why Dr. Zakir Hussain, he requested him to be as a lecturer in Jamia Millia Islamia for some times. He is a very good lecturer. His speech is very inspiring, very simple. Further, not only simple, it's almost all sections of people, students, even other even higher people, even scholars. For all the people, and his lecture is very understandable and also very simple as well as understandable, and also his speech is very inspiring to everybody. Moreover, his contribution for education field is immense. Initially, he started the basic school in Gandhigram, and after that he wanted to develop that school into making a basic education. Then after that, he wanted to make the higher education for the rural communities. That's why he started Gandhigram in 1956, in which higher education people now with this his ideology has been taught in many sections. All the students are taking part in Gandhian thought as well as Mama Dr. G.Ramachandran's lectures studied by students. So in this juncture, our founder Vice Chancellor's reflection is reflection to the students community is almost appreciable. So all these three great people are taught to the society for not only Swaraj, the sustainability and simplicity. Simple life is moreover self-help is the best help. Like that, they are telling other people they are doing their job on their own, depending on without depending on anybody. Further, the tolerance level now nowadays the tolerance is slowly declining among the people. So the Gandhian thought, Gandhi's disciples, Vinobas as well as our Ramachandran's that is ideologies are very much needed at the need of the hour at present, because we have to make the young generation into tolerance level. So that's why tolerance is very essential nowadays. Further, they taught the truth as well as transparency as well as there is a transparency to the core, and also in the basic education they insisted on the vocational type of education. So these are all their important ideologies which are given to the society. It has been it has to be followed nowadays. Now itself, being though we are in the era of liberalization, privatization, and globalization, the production by masses is again our government is taking up that ideology, because mass production cannot give employment to all the people. So the production by masses is the ideology of our Mahatma Gandhi Vinoba Bhave as well as Dr. G.R. So that ideology has been taken up by our government. So that's why they are encouraging the startups and other the entrepreneurs, basically rural entrepreneurs. So with this idea, with this brief outline, I thank all the organizers for having this kind of webinar for the benefit of the society as well as our students, scholars, and other planners and administrators to look into the ideology of these great people for our country development. With this, I thank all the people to take part in this seminar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inspirational talk on inaugural address. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request our senior professor, Dr. M. William Bhaskaran, Dean, School of Social Sciences, to deliver the presidential address.
Respected Vice Chancellor in charge, Professor Dr. T.T. Ranganathan, and most respected Professor Dr. K. Vasavan Pillai, Professor Dr. Mani, Dr. Ravichandran, Dr. Mallamal, other faculty members, and student friends. We are celebrating the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Along with that, the 125th birth anniversary of Vinoba Ji and our beloved Dr. G. Ramachandran. Today is the birthday of Professor G. Ramachandran, our beloved Mama, the founder, Vice Chancellor of GANDHIGRAM Rural Institute. It's a very important occasion because celebrating all these people in a single stroke, I think we try to pay great tribute to them. But why do we celebrate? This is something very important. What's the meaning of this celebration? Is it to show our gratitude for their contribution made to us? And what for we are celebrating? If it is because of the contribution, because of the recognition of their contribution and the expression of the gratitude, then we may worship them. And when we start worshiping them, we make them dead. So I think this is part of our culture. So we worship the people who are revered, who contributed something to us, and we think that's all. But the title of the seminar is, webinar is a little different: contributions and relevance. So it means their thoughts, their ideas, their experiments, their works are still relevant. And this is going to help us, and it will continue to lead us. So that is very important. And if you start celebrating people because we consider them as relevant today and tomorrow, maybe the future, then we believe that they are living today and they lead us. I think the meaning of this webinar is that we believe though physically all of them have gone, and because of their ideology and because of their spirit, I think they are leading us, guiding us. GANDHIGRAM is serving because we hold the name of Gandhi. And the experiment done by Mamaji is great. And the input he put on this soil is making us to grow further. So this celebration has a special meaning to us all. As a students, as faculty, I think we should realize this. And with regard to Gandhiji, he's a great man, Mahatma. But we have to be very careful in using this term Mahatma. Because when we call him Mahatma, we say the things which he has contributed, he has done, and which he has believed, and which he has suggested to us are possible only for great people like Mahatma. It may not be possible for man. So I think we should be careful with these kinds of expressions. So Professor Gene Sharp once said, calling Gandhiji as Mahatma is a vaccine against taking him seriously. I think we should not go by this. I think we should be very careful. Gandhi as a mortal being, Gandhi as a leader, as a human being, he did this experiment for us to continue so that the humanity will survive, humanity will flourish in this earth. I think that's the message he has left with us. That is the contribution, and that makes them relevant today. Gandhi did so many experiments. Maybe his main experiment is on truth. I think it's a big philosophy. What is truth? I think the truth in the English expression may have limited expressions. But the term Satya in Sanskrit, it has a wider meaning. And it means what is existing. Let us all try to understand what exists. I think Gandhi is very much like Buddha. Buddha wants to get enlightenment. We have been living in this world, but we are not conscious of what is happening around us, what is happening in this earth. And Buddha was focusing on human sufferings. Why human beings are suffering? I think, can't we remove that suffering? And he was thinking that way and tried to redress the problem of human suffering. I think Gandhi in this line, he wants to understand truth. What is truth? Why this suffering? And what is joy? And he was thinking wildly. and trying to find an answer to that in his own way. And he did his experiments, and he opened this experiment for every one of us to understand. He left this experiment more transparently to understand and to follow him. So let us continue our experiment on the lines of Gandhi and try to establish Sarvodaya in this earth, so that whole humanity will live so happily, joyfully, and we will enjoy peace permanently. With regard to Vinoba Ji, Vinoba, he got his training under Mahatma as a man of spirituality. He differs with Mahatma on certain matters, but he was by and large, listening to him and understanding Gandhi in his right perspective. Therefore, when Gandhi passed away, he continued this work with a new vigor. And Vinoba Ji made so many programs. Gandhi talked of trusteeship, and Gandhi talked of peaceful resolution of conflict. Gandhi talked about and shaped Satyagraha. I think Vinoba Ji gave a new ideology to the concept of Satyagraha. Probably Professor Vasudevan Pillai will talk on it. I don't want to encroach his area. And Vinoba Ji used to say the Satyagrahas should be gentle, gentler, and gentlest. I think it is very difficult to understand. Maybe to the Western mind, I think it is very difficult to understand, because they believe in non-violent resistance. They believe in militant non-violence. But Vinoba Ji talks about Satyagraha, which should be gentle, gentler, gentlest. I think Vinoba Ji made a lot of contribution. He translated Gandhian ideas of non-violence in the practical ground. How to convert the hearts of people. His main agenda was transforming people and making them to implement the ideology of truth and non-violence. As a result, he organized Bhudan, Gramdan, Shambhatidan, Bhutidan, and Shanti SENA. As a commander of Shanti SENA, he experimented this ideology in the larger ground, in converting, in transforming the dacoits in Chambalville. He made them to surrender and lead a new life, the new life of non-violence, the new life of transformed human being. So Vinoba Ji's experiments are so great. I think this is the time to remember all these experiments, all his ideologies. And he talked about Acharya Kul. Probably the country is missing that ideology. Respecting the educated people, respecting the Acharyas, and taking guidance from them will lead this country to a greater heights. But unfortunately, it's not happening. And the teachers are just reduced as the industrial workers. And we have been working in the educational industries, and we are producing our products. I think education is not like that. And if you read Vinoba Ji carefully, and if you understand the ideology of Acharya Kul, I think we will understand. I think the teachers and the students are the real pillar of this country, which Vinoba spoke vividly. And coming to Mama Ji, I think we have to remember Mama. Mama's contribution is so great. He got trained under Gandhiji. And as Professor Ranganathan spoke and Dr. Mani spoke, I think he's a man of orator. And we know only that side of them. He's a man of orator, and he's a great thinker and organizer and peace lover. And he's a man of aesthetic. Enjoy this part of his life. because I was so fortunate to stay in his ashram at Neyatangra, where I have observed him so closely, and he fed me. So I think that's very, very personal memory. And I really cherish how this man so joyful and how he enjoys his sense of humor and the aesthetic is so great. I think students should understand, because loving the nature, enjoying the beauty of life, the beauty of the nature is so important for us. That will make us to have more relaxation, and that will make us our life so joyful. I think that side I want to speak. And he was a man of revolt. He even revolted against his own guru, Rabindranath Tagore. And he, along with many people like Dr. Aryanayagam, Asha Devi Aryanayagam, C.F. Andrews, and he joined with them to move towards Gandhi when this independence movement was in its height. They were in this Shantiniketan teaching, learning, and enjoying life differently. But when they came to know Gandhi, when Rabindranath Tagore introduced Gandhi to them, they started moving towards him. And they were on the ground of reformations. And they started their work. Actually, the work of Mama has begun with a kind of revolt action. And Gandhi made a call to all people to boycott. Rabindranath Tagore, he could not accept that. But Mamaji organized a program even in Shantiniketan in favor of Gandhiji's idea of boycott. And the next day, Rabindranath called Mama and told him, it's good. You are against your own mentor, but that's not very important. What is important is speaking the truth is important. The great man like, Rabindranath Tagore could speak like that only, because he knows the importance of truth. I think Mama has followed that in his life. And he started this institution and tried to improve the rural masses. And he introduced this concept of Shanti SENA in the educational institutions. I think this is a pioneering work the student should know. So I think Gandhigram is the only institution which has this Shanti SENA training program. Later, when Mama moved to Neyatangra, he wanted to introduce in a big way. I think as part of that effort, I joined him for briefly. So Mama with Amma, I think we should not forget Amma also, since we celebrate this day as a Founders Day. We should remember Amma, and both of them did a great work. It's a marvelous work. And I think this work should continue in this land. I think for that we should have a proper understanding on all these great three leaders. With these words, I confine my presidential address and make way for the presenters, particularly Professor Vasudevan Pillai, probably our leader, Professor Dr. Radhakrishnan, will join us. And I thank every one of you for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you for your inspirational presidential address. Now, I request our senior professor, senior Gandhian leader. Now he joined Professor Dr. N. Radhakrishnan sir, Chairman Kerala Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, Thiruvananthapuram. He is going to give a keynote address on Mahatma Gandhi and GR for their vision on education. So now I request our senior professor to deliver the keynote address.
Hello.
Good morning, sir. Morning.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes,
sir.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Yes.
Dear Professor William Bhaskaran, the head of the Department of Gandhian Studies, Professor Mani, my colleague and also former professor and distinguished scholar, Professor Vasudevan Pillai, my favorite friend, Dr. Devichandran, and all in the faculty.
Sir,
And I
sir,
also,
Professor Ranganathan is here. He's the Vice
oh,
Chancellor. in charge. Yes.
wonderful. Oh, I did not
He's
see
staying
him.
with, yeah.
Hello, Professor Rangarajan. Congratulations. And also, it's a long time since I see you. Thank you, and may I wish you best of luck and hope that under your leadership, the GANDHIGRAM Rural Institute will reach higher flights of achievement. Thank you for joining. Also, my very, very dear student friends, research scholars, and other faculty members who I don't see on the screen here, but I see there are around 80 friends who are attending this important webinar. Well, friends, we are in the Gandhi Jayanti week. Gandhi Jayanti week has always been a period of rededication as well as pledging ourselves to discover not only Mahatma Gandhi, but realize the dreams of the two great founders of GANDHIGRAM complex of institutions, Dr. Ramachandran and Dr. Desikottama, Dr. G.Ramachandran. That today, being the Founders Day, has another significance because this is the birthday of Dr. G.Ramachandran also. So it's a matter of great joy, privilege, as well as happiness that those of you in GANDHIGRAM Rural Institute are observing with dedication and a certain kind of happiness the vision of GANDHIGRAM, vision of the founders in not only developing a great institute of Gandhian studies, rural development, research, and also a ground to prepare the future citizens of India who will dedicate themselves to rural development. I remember those days when I have had the pleasure and privilege for 21 years to work in GANDHIGRAM, and my growth as a teacher, as an individual, as a researcher, and a humble student of Mahatma Gandhi and Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy, I owe much to GANDHIGRAM. When I joined GANDHIGRAM Rural Institute in 1968 as a young lecturer, I was just 24 years old. When I left for Delhi on deputation to Government of India to take care of the Gandhian heritages of Gandhi Darshan, Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, it was a great privilege and it was a definite contribution of GANDHIGRAM, a rural institute, in molding the personality of not only students but as well as those who were working there. My close friend in those days was your senior professor, Dr. William Bhaskar, who inaugurated today's discussion, and as well as Dr. Devichandran, who was a master of yoga, museum, Gandhian studies, and the manner in which he was developing young minds to get themselves involved in Gandhian studies was something amazing. And much later, I'm happy to see that Dr. Mani, after a brilliant study background, joined the Gandhigram Rural Institute. Now, the Department of Gandhian Study, the Shanti SENA program are faring very well. I'm equally happy to see that one of those colleagues who worked with me for a long time in the agriculture faculty was your acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Ranganathan, whom I like immensely and to whom I send my greetings, best wishes, and also my joy. Thank you. I'm extremely happy again, Dr. That a scholar like Professor K. Vasudevan Pilla will be speaking to you on the contribution of Vinoba Bhave in not only rural development, but in developing the conceptual framework of how to emerge as fearless citizens. Now, friends, I will take just 10 minutes to present you two important factors. One is, your motto, the motto of Gandhigram Rural Institute is Gramam Uyare, Nad Uyeru. As the villages prosper, the country develops. It's an amazing, what one might say, motto for a community of educators. This gives a genuine reflection of what three great thinkers of India wanted education to be. The first was Rabindranath Tagore when he founded the Vishwabharati at Shanti Niketan. He wanted a free education to be imparted to young minds of all ages, of all races, of all genders, to make education a joyful process. In tradition of the Nalanda, Takshashila, which were all in India, and they were India's contribution to knowledge seeking. You know that. In the Indian tradition, education, what it is, how it is defined. Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. Education is that which liberates. Sa Vidya. That is the education. Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. What gives you the power to liberate yourself, free yourself from the clutches of ignorance, hatred, as well as disrespect. These three qualities. So when Tagore founded his education, he wanted education not to be confined within the four walls of the laboratory or the library or the lecture classroom. Education, according to Tagore, wanted to be a free process of individual making, societal transformation, as well as those qualities that will give enough freedom for people, young people, to choose their future. Education under the tree, education in the open field, education in the agriculture field where the tiller is tilling the soil, where the tiller's assistants are sowing the seeds. That kind of freedom, that kind of education, a student should learn from the chirping of the birds. The student should see when the waters flow down, the murmuring sounds of the waves of the what you call waves from the water sources. And the education should be given in the free atmosphere of what the air gives us, what the sky gives us. Should be in conformity with the laws of nature, all these things. So when in 1947-48, Gandhiji wanted something like a Shanti Niketan in the south. Most of you do not know this fact. When Gandhiji wanted a Shanti Niketan in the south, Gandhiji identified he had two persons in his mind to undertake this long journey. One was Dr. G.Ramachandran, his favorite student disciple, and the other was Dr. Soundaram Ramchandran, to whom Gandhi gave the command, go to the south and start an education practice. It is how the Gandhigram complex of education began. Now, I am not going to give a full lecture or presentation on how Gandhigram began, but then the original purpose of Gandhigram complex of constructive workers, Gandhian constructive workers, was to span out into the villages, work for the villagers, and by serving the villagers, you promote a young band of students to acquire the basic skills of education. So, classroom teaching or learning were not only the tools of a new education. The new education policy Dr. Ramchandran conceived was in conformity with what is known today the basic education or Nai Talim. Nai means new, Talim means education. The new education. The new education had three axes in those days. One was learning, the other was research, the third was extension component. And Ramchandran ji added one more component, that was the Shanti SENA. Shanti SENA, according to Ramchandran ji, was a tool given in the hands of young people to discover their innate potentials on the basis of the realities emerging. Peace is not in the agenda of any university. Nowadays, professors and universities and vice chancellors will say peace, this conflict resolution, conflict management, conflict leadership, all these things say, but no university in those days was forthcoming to experiment or weave leadership training into the matrix of education. So Gandhigram Rural Institute was a pioneering center of education because you just ask any student, maybe who had the pleasure and privilege to study in Gandhigram Rural Institute some 20 or 25 years ago, what it was education. Everyone with clarity of conviction and prismatic dedication, they will say it was a heaven of opportunities. Teachers and students living together, working together, sharing their innate private feelings and also aspirations, disappointments, failures, and their desire to emerge out of all these things courageously, sparing them. Can you just imagine a type of university in 2021 where every student of a university spends at least 50% of their time in the villages? Nowadays, students of many universities go to the villages as tourists, as if those who are in the villages are museum pieces, to look at them, to look at their houses, to look at their water drinking facilities, and to see and also collect data for their research. It was not the kind of, my request today is, there are 2-3 of our students, including Professor Ranganathan, who is the acting vice chancellor, Dr. William Bhaskaran, Dr. Mani, Dr. Ravichandran, and 1 or 2 of other senior faculty. What was like the life in Gandhigram Rural Institute about 15 or 20 years ago? They were all distinguished colleagues, I remember, of mine, who spent considerable part of their life in the villages. Every afternoon, they would go to the villages and they would come back from the villages sometime late in the night, but they are not going to the villages. They were not going to the villages as tourists. They were there in the villages to look at incisively how the food production is there. What are the programs of farmers? Do they have adequate drinking or water? Do they have schools? If there are schools, how the schools are equipped? How can we supplement those teachers who were doing very well, but they were fighting for their own survival, and how what they produce in the field, how it could be marketed. See, it was a holistic vision of life where Gandhiji wanted education to become a tool of what one might say liberation. Education has to give necessary inputs for those who are seeking education through classroom learning or research or their extension, not only for a degree but for their life. So here was a pattern geared to the daily needs of students. They were getting their degrees or diplomas, but then they were getting lessons based on their experience. Gandhigram Rural Institute was the first deemed to be university where extension was compulsory, where thesis writing was compulsory on the basis of their first-hand observation by study, observation, and analysis. Let me tell you, my dear friends, it was joy and happiness by everybody when everybody was working together. So Gandhigram has grown, and Gandhigram Rural Institute. Please remember, those of you who are there should be very happy and proud of being in Gandhigram, because of the 14 rural institutes started by the government of India in 1957, only one rural institute survived. All the other rural institutes were either closed or they joined the nearest university because they were not able to stand together. But Gandhigram Rural Institute, thanks to Dr. G.Ramachandran's leadership and his national standing, was given the status of a university, deemed to be university because the University Grants Commission, the Ministry of HRD, the state government, and other academic bodies found not only excellence in the quality of teaching, but competency on the part of the students and confidence with which students were responding to the social needs, besides being repositories of their own capabilities as emerging leaders. My dear friends, it was a heaven of experience. When I left for Gandhigram after 21 years of my being in Gandhigram for Delhi for higher responsibilities, if I was successful at the national level as the director of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti, it was all, I have no hesitation to say, it was all because of the great opportunity that I got from Gandhigram Rural Institute. There was joy. I learned very heavily. I experienced a truth of being truthful, and I experienced how one can respect the sensibilities of students who are coming to us as part of their mission to discover themselves and get a degree so that they will get better opportunities in life. So when we remember all these things, what I also remember is that the great role played by Rabindranath Tagore in giving a new type of education. Dr. G.Ramachandran, what he learned from his master, Mahatma Gandhi, to whom education was not acquiring what one might say information. Education is not only a process of getting knowledge, but education should become a full-fledged process that would enable you to discover your potentials and emerge as capable leaders. This was the truth of the matter of education so far as Dr. G. Ramachandran our founder, whom we all of us affectionately remember him today on his birthday, and whom we address Mama with great affection. Friends, Ramachandranji's contribution to national life, Gandhiji's contribution to rural development, Gandhiji's Ramachandranji's contribution to the development of Khadi, as Jawaharlal Nehru said, the livery of the masses, the way he nurtured, loved young students, particularly, are something that are to be remembered. So my congratulations to all of you who have shown sufficient respect, understanding in remembering Dr. Ramachandranji today, as well as remembering the great role Soundaram Amma, that great and noble soul, who also dedicated her life to rural development, women empowerment, development of women, and liberating women from what is called many other social evils. So Gandhigram Rural Institute, if today is one of the premier institutes of rural higher education and knowledge, and if it has emerged as a principal focus of what Indian education should be in the 21st century, it's all because of the leadership that we got from our founders. My respectful pranams and regards to our founders, besides remembering my wonderful colleagues like Professor William Bhaskar, who was one of my closest friends in all my endeavors during the last maybe 40 years. So I respect all of you, the Leonard Vice Chancellor in charge, my good friend Professor Mani, as well as Dr. Devichandar. There are other faculty, there are other students whose face I have not seen. May I wish you best of luck and hope that you will have a very, very pleasant day of interaction today. I'm happy Professor Vasudevan has also joined and he will be speaking after me. Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, sir.
Very good deliberation on Mahatma Gandhi and GR for their vision on education. So really, it will be very useful for our student community and whoever receive our today's voice. Really, it will be reached to them. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. On behalf of Gandhi Entire Department and SHANTI SENA, I thank you for your nice message to our student community. Thank you, Professor. Now I may request our resource person and senior professor, Dr. K. Vasudevan Pillai, professor and NSS College, Nimbara, Gandhi Smaraka Rama Seva Kendram, Mangalam, Palakkad, who is going to deliver the session now on Acharya Vinoba Bhave, the national teacher, and Satyagrahi, a revisit to his multiple qualities. The Professor Dr. K. Vasudevan Pillai to deliver.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. See, today being the birthday of a very respected visionary, our Mama, Dr. Ramachandran Ji, I would like to start my deliberation with a dedication consisting of a few words of Vaishnava Jede.
Shri
thank you. I hope it is audible. Okay. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. So, respected Chair Dr. William Bhaskaran, other dignitaries, Professor T.T. Renganathan, Vice Chancellor in charge of GANDHIGRAM University, Dr. N. Radhakrishnan, Dr. R. Mani, Dr. K. Ramachandran, and dear participants of today's webinar. Once again, let me bid a good morning. Now it is good afternoon, okay, to everyone. At the outset, let me express my sincere thanks to the organizers of this webinar for giving me this opportunity. Not only for me, but also giving an opportunity to the young participants to commemorate the contributions of three great visionaries, Mahatma Gandhi, Vinoba Ji, and G.Ramachandran Ji. See, I would like to complete my today's exercise in two parts. First part is a small presentation aimed to brush up some relevant quotes of Acharya Vinoba Bhave. And the second part will be my deliberation. So now I am going to share the screen. Hope you could see, okay? Hope you could see the screen, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can able to see.
Okay. He is one of the few pearls of our ashram. They do not come like others to get blessed by ashram, but to bless it. Not to receive, but to give. Each quote doesn't require any explanation because they are self-explanatory. A country should be defended not by arms, but by ethical behavior. It is only when our life proceeds within bounds and in an accepted, disciplined way that the mind can be free. A sword in the hand is a sure sign of violent mind, but one does not become non-violent merely by throwing the sword away. The river flows at its own sweet will, but the flood is bound in the two banks. If it were not thus bound, its freedom would be wasted. It is more relevant nowadays. I will divulge that idea in the later deliberation. When a king speaks, the armies move. But when a wise man speaks, only the bird shakes. Again, more relevant in this COVID pandemic situation. It is a curious phenomenon that God has made the hearts of the poor rich and those of the rich poor. Mahatma Gandhi, Vinoba Ji, and Ramachandran Ji always raised their slogans for the upliftment of poor, downtrodden masses of the world. Okay. Now, through my deliberation entitled Acharya Vinoba Bhave, the national teacher and Satyagrahi, a revisit to his multiple qualities, I am trying to portray the life of a great servant of modern India, Acharya Vinoba Bhave, who rendered hope and optimism for a better tomorrow to a troubled humanity intent on self-destruction. Vinoba Bhave was one of the most ardent disciples of Mahatma Gandhi, who practiced his philosophy in letter and spirit. He led an aesthetic life of a sannyasi and devoted his entire life in practical implementation of Gandhi's concept of rejuvenation of villages and upliftment of the downtrodden Indian masses. The role of Vinoba Ji as the national teacher and first satyagrahi is seen more relevant today when we look at the current global crisis. A teacher is not merely someone who shares knowledge and wisdom. Instead, teacher must be a mentor who inspires. This is how Vinoba Bhave became the mentor of the masses and was recognized as a national teacher. He was adamant that one should speak truth and do the right. He inculcated good moral values and tried to preserve good virtues among others. Presently, the world is witnessing widespread uncertainties and anxieties such as COVID pandemic, violence, terrorism, hatred, cutthroat competition, and also the survival of fittest. The race among nations to arm themselves with nuclear bombs and bioweapons, coupled with the merciless exploitation of natural resources, is threatening the very existence of life on the planet Earth. We all know that the current issues are digressions due to deviations from principled life embedded with 4 words: Satyam, Sahodaryam, Dharmam, and Ahimsa. Now let me try to draw your attention to the multiple qualities in Vinoba Bhave. I seek the support or I take certain relevant words from the book written by Sriram Narayan to substantiate my arguments. In his book, Vinoba, His Life and Work, Sriram Narayan is mentioning many instances which actually substantiate the good qualities, the dedicated character of Vinoba Ji for choosing him as the first satyagrahi by Mahatma Gandhi. So the reason for selecting Vinoba as the first satyagrahi is very much clear when we go through the book Vinoba, His Life and Work, written by Sriman Narayan, published by Popular Prakashan Publishers in 1970. This is the word, the striking word, the quote. He is one of the few pearls of the ashram. They do not come like others to be blessed by the ashram, but to bless it. Not to receive, but to give. This is a statement made by Mahatma Gandhi to ensure the quality of Vinoba Ji. Again, he is saying that, in my view, in Gandhi's view, a father is, in fact, a father who has a son who surpasses him in virtue. This is what you have made yourself. This is the quality observed in Vinoba by Mahatma for choosing him as his first disciple and first satyagrahi. Again, in October 1940, same text from the book, Gandhiji launched an individual satyagraha movement, unlike his usual mass civil disobedience movement, to express his opposition to British government for dragging India in the Second World War without seeking the consent of the nation. He chose Vinoba as the first satyagrahi. Vinoba, hitherto unknown, Gandhiji introduced him by issuing a long statement and stated, his devotion to Daridra Narayan has taken him to work in a village near Varda. See how lauded commentary it is. His devotion to Daridra Narayan has taken him to work in a village near Varda. He believes that the real independence of villages is impossible without constructive program of which Gandhi is at the center. He has given much emphasis or focus to development of Gandhi. The spinning wheel, the rotating wheel, it actually symbolizes advancement, upliftment, progress, peace situation, and after all, sustainability of local poor masses. He believes that the spinning wheel is the most suitable outward symbol of non-violence, which has become an integral part of the previous Satyagraha campaign. He has abolished every trace of untouchability from his heart. He believes in the communal unity with the same passion that I have. In order to know the best mind of Islam, he gave 1 year to study of the Quran in original. He therefore learned Arabic. This is the observation made by Gandhi to uplift the qualities of Vinobaji, Acharya Vinobaji, the first Satyagrahi. These words are purely written without any fabrication in the book by Narayan. Now let us consider what is the inspiration for Buddha movement. Actually, the inspiration is from his own mother, Vinoba's mother. Vinoba's mother was a very religious and pious lady and had a decisive influence on him to lead a saintly life. He remembered numerous Marathi bhajans by heart and would sing them with great devotion while engaged in household. Setting her own example, she taught Vinoba the most important lesson of his life. The youngsters of nowadays community has to make a very clear-cut attention to that commitment. First give food and then eat. First give food, then eat. So giving something to others is the primary thing. After that, you think about getting something back. That is the commitment. And that was a teaching given by Vinoba's mother in his early life stage. First give food and then eat. Whosoever gives is God, and who does not share is devil. This is from the book Ahimsa. This lesson inspired Vinoba later to launch his famous Buddha movement. I think now there is a need of revisit to the history of Buddha and Gramadan in this pandemic period, which taught the entire mankind the absurdity and insecurity of super technology's life. I repeat, the absurdity and insecurity of super technology's life, and also re-establishing the relevance of sustainable rural development. At the offset, I would like to assert that the philosophy of Buddha and Gramadan, that of caring and sharing, embodied in the words Antyodaya and Sarvodaya, are even more relevant in today's world. Let me repeat, at the offset, I would like to assert that the philosophy of Buddha and Gramadan, that of caring and sharing, embodied in the words Antyodaya and Sarvodaya, are even more relevant in today's world. According to Mahatma Gandhi, land and all property is his, who will work it. Land and all property is his, who will work for it. Actually, the farming fields must be owned by peasants, peasantry ownership. That is the actual concept behind that. We have many dignitaries or economists parallel to this argument who mentioned or stated parallel comments to that. He argued that land should ultimately belong to the people. In fact, land, forest, and water are the natural resources over which the people should have their control. Only control, not conquer. Now let us look at the Grama Swaraj concepts which helped the rural masses for their survival during this COVID pandemic. There exists the crust of this discussion. In the COVID pandemic, we have to learn many lessons from the rural background. The methodology of rural development, the relevance of rural development, stated and piloted by the pioneers, is becoming more and more brightening, and many are compelled to grow that field, accept that field, and struggle for maintaining a clear-cut, scientific, sustainable rural development methodology. The rural development sector resumed its functioning efficiently by maintaining the required social distancing and precautionary measures, whereas the large industries were forced to shut down. But the rural industry never stands still. It worked progressively, maintaining or following the COVID pandemic protocols. Small-scale industries, including Gandhi sector, were able to function uninterruptedly. The rural farming sector saved men from a massive famine. The real food safety lies in the hands of the farmer when given the rights to the land, says the Buddha movement, which is more relevant nowadays. The Asha workers were more of life savers than the so-called human goods. This indeed is a lesson to treat human beings as one beyond any discriminatory line drew by the caste and creed system in the country. To name a few factors that have affected the immunity of our generation, such as the modern lifestyle, treatments without proper diagnosis, the food intake that does not suit the digestion, or the lack of physical exercise might have elevated the mortality rate of COVID pandemic. Again, the unethical part of endless scientific inquiries and over mechanization which placed mission a must and man its slave, as questioned by Mahatma Gandhi, wiped away many good values and humanity from us. COVID virus somehow has been trying to teach us the necessity of reinstating the Gram Swaraj ideas. Once again, COVID virus now somehow has been trying to teach us the necessity of reinstating the Gram Swaraj ideas. There exists a holistic relationship between nature and man. It is our duty to prevent any human indulgence that affects the sanctity of that relationship. Man's greedy tendency to conquer and control everything, and thereby to create social disparity among nations and masses, is the sole cause of the present day crisis. These lessons, which are earlier proven by Vinoba Bhave and other like-minded people, become more vital when we subject them for a revisit. Men believe that to destroy a nation, one has to pursue destroying their culture rather than a solid war. For this, they attempt to attack the culture, agricultural heritage, social security, and even environment sustainability. We should realize that man's cruelty towards nature and environment is best answered through natural calamities by nature itself. We should realize that man's cruelty towards nature and environment is best answered through natural calamities by nature itself. By realizing these dangers, one has to preach the measures to preserve peace, welfare, brotherhood, for the existence of entire flora and fauna on the earth, for which man has to end his cruelty and greed as taught by the national teacher Vinoba Bhave. Isn't it COVID the end result of man's desire to put the entire world under his feet? Many believe so. Many believe that COVID-19 is the result of man's undying conquest for power and dictatorship. I repeat, many believe, including me, that COVID-19 is the result of man's undying conquest for power and dictatorship. So it is the right time for a rethinking and correction, for which we may follow what our national teacher Vinoba Bhave had taught us with his life, what he had preached in his entire life. So, without being stuck at the present day crisis, one has to decide to look up to Gandhian methodologies for resurrection and survival. Resurrection and survival. Jai Hind. Jai Hind. Okay. I would like to conclude my deliberation. Okay. Okay, I have finished.
Dr. Mani, please unmute. Unmute yourself.
Thank you, Professor, for your nice, inspirational talk on Acharya Vinoba Bhave, quoting Bhudan movement, Ramadan, and other contribution made by Vinoba Bhave. It's really reaching to our GANDHIGRAM community, and especially for student participants. They are here, and it will reach by your nice words. And it is an inspirational talk. You are speaking inspirational talk to the students. It also inspired to all. Thank you for nice words on Vinoba Bhave and his contribution. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Let us have any questions on the participant side, or we have any clarifications with regard to the today's discussion, keynote address given by the two renowned professors. If there is no any questions from the audience side or from the participants, so let us have validity, propose vote of thanks. So I request our Dr. P. Ravichandran, Assistant Professor, Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science, to propose vote of thanks.
Friends, good afternoon, everyone. The Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science and the SHANTI SENA unit are jointly celebrating the eve of Mahatma Gandhi's 152nd birth anniversary. And we are celebrating it for one long week, from 2nd October to 8th October. This year, this is the 152nd birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, 125th birth anniversary, anniversary of Vinoba Bhave, the 100th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi adopting the loincloth in Madurai, and the 75th Independence Day. All these incidents are coinciding at one point. And the Gandhigram Rural Institute, celebrating at length all these programs. And today, we had a wonderful seminar, a wonderful webinar on contributions and relevance of Mahatma Gandhi, Vinoba Bhave, and Desikottama G.Ramachandran ji. And first of all, I would like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor T.T. Ranganathan, who is a senior agriculture scientist of national and international standing, came all the way and delivered the inaugural address. We wholeheartedly thank you, Vice Chancellor, sir. And we would like to extend our special thanks to the Doyen Gandhian. I would call him as a legendary Gandhian academician, Gandhian writer, Professor N. Radhakrishnan. Everybody knew Dr. Radhakrishnan. He has written more than 100 books on Gandhi, peace, non-violence, and international understanding. He's a writer, he's an organization builder, he's a leader, and above all, he is a humane person. And Professor Radhakrishnan delivered a lecture on Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. G.Ramachandran for their vision on education. We thank you, Professor Radhakrishnan, sir, for delivering an inspiring lecture today. Then I would like to thank our senior professor, dean, and member of the Board of Management of Gandhigram Rural Institute, Professor William Bhaskaran. He's an expert in Shanti SENA, and I could very well say that he is the only professor of Shanti SENA in the whole of the country. And we can even say in the whole of the world, he is the only professor of Shanti SENA. He has his competency and specialization in Gandhian studies, peace studies, and conflict resolution. We sincerely thank him for delivering the excellent presidential address. We thank you, Professor William Bhaskaran, sir. Thank you so much. We would also like to thank Professor Dr. K. Vasudevan Pillai, who's a retired professor and principal of NSS College, Nemara, Kerala, for delivering the very inspiring lecture on Acharya Vinoba Bhave, the national teacher and Satyagrahi, a revisit to his multiple qualities. Sir, your presentation was inspiring and very informative, sir. On behalf of the Department of Gandhian Studies and the Gandhigram Rural Institute, we wholeheartedly thank you. Thank you, sir. And I would like to thank Dr. R. Mani, who is a professor and head of the Department of Gandhian Thought and Peace Science of Gandhigram Rural Institute, for nicely organizing this webinar and delivering the welcome address. We thank you, Professor Mani. Thank you so much for the wonderful organizational ability. And I would like to thank our senior professor and the director of the Center for Future Studies, Dr. K. Velumani, for fully being in the section and participating along with the students. And I would like to thank all the staff members, including our own departmental staff members, Dr. Vetikarthik, Dr. Sivaguru, Dr. Mageshwari, and above all, I especially would like to thank our senior professor and formerly head of the department and our longtime colleague, Dr. M. Mallamal, who is a senior professor and a specialist in Gandhian studies and peace science. We thank you, Dr. Mallamal. Thank you so much for being with us for the whole seminar. And we thank Dr. Sivaguru, Dr. Mageshwari, all other staff members of Gandhigram and other universities, and our dear students for being with us and spending half a day to learn from the life of Mahatma Gandhi, Vinoba Bhave, and our dear Mama. And we thank one and all for being with us. Let's take the message, the Gandhian message of truth and non-violence. We have gathered here to create a violent-free world. Jai Jagat, Jai Jagat, Jai Jagat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your nice proposing vote of thanks. Those who are the participants, I request the participant to give your feedback. The link is already given. Please register your feedback and then get your certificates. So thank you very much for all of the resource persons, teachers, students from various parts of our country. So thank you, one and all. Thank you again. Thank you, sir.
Let me leave. Okay.
Thank you,
okay,
professor.
Okay.
அவ்வளவுதான் இதை க்ளோஸ் பண்ணி லீவ் போட்டலாம்ல? அவங்களே கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. எத்தனை பேர் வந்திருக்காங்க மறுபடியும்? லீவ் மீட்டிங் போட்டலாமா?